This video is to enlighten Chile de Castro on DeleteLawz the truth. He thinks Terry versus Ohio is the only thing that screwed up this country. Screwed up our, eliminated our rights. Really, in all reality, the all caps legal entity, legal person that was created by the state is what screwed up our ability to have rights. When you receive that legal name, the all caps name the state created, your parents didn't create it. Your parents didn't write down your name in all capital letters and then it says on your birth certificate you're now a legal entity. As a male, you're a legal entity. As a female, you're a legal entity. You're not seen as a boy or a girl of the natural person. Because when you're born, you're a boy or you're a girl. And then when you fully grow up and you turn 18, you're a man or a woman. You've grown up to become a man or a woman. You're no longer that little boy or little girl. They turn you into an animal. You need to look this stuff up, Chile. Look up in Black's Law Dictionary. Look up in their U.S. codes. What is the definition of a human? The definition of a human in their terms is a monster. So you're called a male or a female monster, human. You look up the difference between a legal entity or a legal person and a natural person. It'll tell you plain and clear there's a difference in what each one is under, what jurisdiction each one is under. The natural person is under the jurisdiction of common law. The legal person is under the jurisdiction of color of law, legality, legalese. Read that Constitution. You won't find the words legal, illegal, legality, legalese. You won't find those words in there. You won't find them in the Declaration of Independence. You find lawful and unlawful and law. Not legal, illegal. That's all you got to do. Start looking this stuff up. There's a Cornell Institute website where you can look all this up. What's the definition of human in the USC? What's the definition of legal person? What's the definition of a U.S. citizen? What's the definition of the United States? Everything you think exists does not exist. The government does not exist. The natural person does not exist. You don't have no rights if you're not seen as a natural person. You have no common law rights. So then, as a legal entity or a legal person, you are allowed to have privileges. You're allowed to do this and that. It's not a right. You're not free. As a legal entity, you're put under involuntary servitude to serve the state and obey the state's laws. And the same thing with the United States government, because they all group together in a union to work together. So that way, the U.S. so-called government can enforce its laws in the states. The 9th and 10th Amendment was eliminated when the all-caps name was created in the fiat money. They created a Social Security number when they created the fiat money, and then they had to create a all caps name to go with that social security number. It all belongs to a legal entity. You have to surrender all of that back to the state and correct your status. And tell them, I invoke the Declaration of Independence that's created for Americans. I'm an American. I'm not a U.S. citizen. I'm not a legal entity. I'm not a resident of the state. I signed no contract or treaty with the state and with the United States government to become a resident of the state and a U.S. citizen like a foreigner does that comes through the immigration system. They sign a contract to become a U.S. citizen and a resident of the states. We never did that. But when your parents signed that birth certificate that turned you into a legal entity, a legal person that would be seen as a male or female, not as a boy or girl, and then later a man or a woman, they signed you over to the government. This is why there's a reason why they don't teach us this stuff in school. How the whole government system works under their U.S. codes and their code CFRs, that's Code of Federal Regulations, and their statutes and all of that we have to, or they say we are to accept. And we're accepting it involuntarily. We're not being told what it's for and to be given a chance to voluntarily say, yes, I want to be that legal entity so I can get Social Security, so I can get Medicare, so I can get food stamps and all these other business benefits. But then they got immigrants coming in without going through the immigration system and getting food stamps, getting money. And they're not U.S. citizens. They're not residents of any state or a resident of any state. They sign no contract. They're just let in. And they're free. And they can freely have all that stuff. When we're not supposed to even have any of that if we don't sign a contract stating, yes, I want to be this so I can get all of this. Or I don't want to sign it, but you still have the right to go get a job without the Social Security, without the all caps legal entity name. And you won't be taxed. You won't be having no Social Security pulled out. You get all of your money. We can get a job without any of that. They're lying to us. They're lying to the people who do the employing of everybody else, or the persons, since they're licensed through the government to have a business. So since they're licensed through the government to have a business, they're a legal entity, corporation. And therefore, they then have to do what the government wants them to do, or the states. This is how they gained control of us. They created legal entities, persons, legal persons. And they stripped us of all of our rights when they gave us that legal entity to obtain and say, yes, that's me. That's my name. No, it's not. Your parents did not give you that name. The state did. The state gave you, or the government gave you that Social Security number. That belongs to the government. And then they attach them together to make you a resident of a state and a U.S. citizen to get all this stuff you're not supposed to get. You don't live at an address. The post office created that address. The post office owns the address. It belongs to the post office. You don't live at the post office and you don't live in the mailbox. That is a mailing address. Look it up. There are no such things as home addresses. They're all mailing addresses for the mail. So the post office can get the mail to the mailbox that sits outside of your property or on your door or your house, which it shouldn't be on your house or on your door. It should be outside your property on public property because it belongs to the post office. Now, if you're renting a home from a business that has homes built so people can come in and rent them, then you have a home address. You're a tenant. Well, if you have a home address at the house you bought and you say, yes, that's my home address, you become a tenant of that home. You're no longer the owner of it, really. And you pay taxes because you sign on to their contracts that has you paying taxes. And you don't have to do any of that. The all caps name is what took away our rights. We can surrender it over, go to the court or whatever, write notices that you're surrendering this, that this is not you. I no longer consent to being this all caps legal entity or legal person or / person. Legal entity / person. You no longer accept being any of that. You don't consent to it. You're no longer in their jurisdiction then, and the police can't touch you. They can't pull you over no more. You can get your own plates. You can travel around freely. Legal entities cannot travel freely. It's a privilege now. You're a corporation. And they got the only way to make money off of you, and the way they do with tickets and fines after you go to jail and all that, is to turn you into a corporation so they can do business with you. You're signing a contract, a ticket. Yes, I'll show up in the court. That's a contract that you're signing to show up in the court, to give them money. It's all business transactions through contracts. You get a ticket, walk in there. Where's the contract that I signed with the state to be under its jurisdiction? I am not that legal entity. Here, I surrender the birth certificate and the driver license of the legal entity, and you hold it for however long you need to, like the legal entities in jail and prison. And you're free and can go about and do whatever you want. And then call me when you're done holding it for however long you think you need to, and then I'll come pick it up. We're not that legal entity. Our parents did not create that name. The state did. For their benefit. And they gave it to you to benefit them. That's why you got to hand that over to the cops. They work for them, and when they say, give me that, you have to. Because they created it, it belongs to them. They created the birth certificate, it belongs to them. The filing date on your birth certificate, at the very bottom of your birth certificate. This date right here. That is the day that this was filed into the system. And that's the birth date of the all caps state created name. You have your natural birth date of when you was born. But the birth certificate to turn you into a legal person was born on a different date. After it was filed into the system to become a legal person, a legal entity. So the legal entity was born on that date. The all caps name, everything on this is in all capital letters except for the date. That's the only thing that's in all capital letters on this thing. Oh, and your birth month is not in all capital letters. The date of the filing date and your birth date not in all capital letters. Everything else is in all capital letters. Everything. Those are corporate names. Huh. It says filed January 20th. Okay. It's the date that I received a new one. Okay. But yeah. January 20th, 1975. What was it? October, November, December, January. All 5 days from a full 3 months. Filed, this birth date was created for the all caps name. And then I can't use this till I turn 18. Or I get a hardship license. I go, or what do they call it? I get emancipation from my parents to where I can be my own adult. Emancipated, that's what it's called. I get emancipated. Then I can start using this. Then I am the all caps legal name, and I have to pay income tax. And I have to pay any state taxes that they put onto your paycheck if your state charges income tax. And the Social Security, that's what's on here too. Your Social Security number, I think, is on here also. No. That's just when you get your Social Security card. And then you have that with this. That's added to your all caps name. But you have a birth number. It's, to me, a slave number. But that's what, in my opinion, what I believe is the all caps name is your slave name that the state created to turn you into a slave. And the Social Security number is your slave number to the United States government. The IRS, who created all of that with the government and Israel. That's what I believe. Israel was the main one that helped create this. The all caps legal name and the Social Security number to go with the fiat money to take away all our freedoms. They used all that right there, 3 things to enslave us under. We were turned into slaves and we lost all of our rights when they created the fiat money, the Social Security, and the all caps name, the legal entity. You go to court and you say, I'm surrendering all of this. This is who you're contracted with. You want that money for those tickets. You get it out of that legal entity's Social Security. The trust fund. This is in their U.S. codes. That trust fund is in their U.S. codes. Or CFR's Code of Federal Regulations. It's in there. And you can look all this up in the Cornell Institute's website. So, this is how they got us enslaved. And until you wake up to it and keep, just keep pushing that Terry v. Ohio. None of that can be enforced if you don't claim to be a legal entity, a legal person. None of it can be enforced upon you. It's only enforced upon you because of that all caps name that you still do not stop claiming as your name. You can stop claiming that as you, and they can't touch you anymore. You don't sign any of their contracts in the jail prosecutor, whatever that is that you see in a window in a room. You don't sign anything. I invoke the Fourth and Fifth Amendments and the Declaration of Independence. I invoke the Declaration of Independence and posse comitatus, or no, not posse comitatus. There's the other one. I can't think of it right now, but there's another one. You enforce that one. Abraham Lincoln created it, but then he went to get it, or then he went to, for a moment, null and void it to prevent a state from seceding from the Union. Damn, I forgot what it's called. I can't think of it. Habeas corpus. I had to go through the alphabet, find the first letter of it. Habeas corpus. You invoke habeas corpus and you invoke the American Declaration of Independence. I'm an American. I'm not a U.S. citizen. Show me the contract that states that I signed on a dotted line that I'm a U.S. citizen. And they have to. They got to prove that you are a U.S. citizen. They got to prove you are a resident of the state with documentation. And they can't. You can get out of all of it. You have to stop consenting to being that legal entity. And you have to stop, you have to tell them, that's my birth date, but I'm going to give you the birth date of the legal entity, and you memorize that birth date, the filing date of when that legal entity was born into their system. It was created by the state, filed into, that shit by the state, but they, for some reason, are allowed to use your birth date to be that legal entity's birth date when it's the wrong birth date. Mine was January 20th, 1975. That was when my all caps name was created by the state. Or it's not my name. That was when that all caps name legal entity was created by the state. And then the United States government attached that Social Security number to it. And then they pull this crap now. Oh, do you use our money? Well, that's the only money you're allowing us to use, so I have to. But you can't force me to be this legal entity. They can't. That's involuntary servitude. You tell them, you've got me under involuntary servitude as this legal entity, which makes me a slave to the state. And I don't consent to participating in this Ponzi scheme that was created to put me under involuntary servitude. I don't consent to participating in it. We have the right to not consent to be any of that and participate in it. And they can't force you to do so. And you have to stand your ground. Even if they may want to lock you up for an hour or so and then bring you back in, and you stick to it. And eventually they're going to get tired of you and they're going to kick you out. And then they're going to tell the sheriffs and police and all them not to arrest them, leave them alone because we don't want them in our courts no more. They've already done that to people. Just don't arrest them. We don't want them in our courts. He knows the law. He's not in our jurisdiction. It's all about jurisdiction. You challenge the jurisdiction. Do you have any documentation that states you have jurisdiction over me by myself without being in a group? No. The United States Federal Corporation and the corporate states do not have jurisdiction over you. They don't have any documentation to prove it. Because you got to sign a contract stating that you consent to being in their jurisdiction and to obey them and be a good little slave to them. I've done none of that after I turned 18. And the only things I did sign to have, I was tricked into. I was misinformed about it. I wasn't even informed about it. Oh, you just gotta have it. Okay. So you can work. That's about it. Pay taxes. That's the only thing that crap does to us. Is force us into involuntary servitude. To be a slave. And so Terry v. Ohio, Penn versus Mims, all the court cases can be enforced upon us as the legal entity. I'm going into court and I'm doing that. I'm going to be recording. It should be tomorrow or the day after. I'm going into the court room or the county court, and I'm going to say, here's the legal entity. I am not the legal entity, which will be that birth certificate and this expired driver license and social security number. I'm going to hand all that to them and tell them I'm here to deal with those tickets. I'm here I'm here about, the tickets. Not to deal with them, not to take care of them, just like they want. And I hate it when it does that. But, I'm not that legal entity. You want that money, you take it out of that legal entity's trust account. I'm the benefactor. Prove that I'm not. You're the one that's the trustee. All judges are trustees. You're the benefactor. They're the debtors. We're the creditors. We're the lessees, they're the lessers. You can look all this up. What's a lessee? What's a lesser? What's a creditor? In the Cornell Institute website. Look that website up, put all that in there. It'll tell you everything you need to know that's under their system that they enforce. And there's stuff in there they don't enforce the way it's supposed to be. What's the definition of a driver? What's the definition of automobile? What's the definition of a motor vehicle? What's the definition of a person? It'll tell you everything. A corporation's a definition, and a person and an individual, they're definitions of a legal entity. So if they don't say you don't make sure they know that you're a living person, well, they'll consider you a corporate person, a legal person. A corporation is a person. An individual is a person, a legal person, legal entity. So I'm going to keep on rambling. So you all take care. Bye.